What's going on, my homie fam dogs, home slash fam slash whatever I'm gonna call you guys, and today we're here with my not Punisher, with my Nightmare 100 Squirrel Girl. So yeah, basically I love this game. And yesterday I had made, if you guys saw the video that I made yesterday, or maybe 2 days ago at this point, depends on when I get this out, or maybe whenever you're seeing this, I don't know. But yesterday I had made a video and it was just like gameplay, and I had somebody in the comments, they were like, hey, you didn't show the build at all. I was like, you know what, you're right. I appreciate comments like those. Of course, don't like just like go crazy on me, don't like just bully me, of course, but like criticisms of things that I could like improve about what I'm putting out there, always appreciate it. So anyways, I'm probably from this point on, if I do make any more videos on this, which I hopefully will, I don't know why I said if I do, but I'm going to end up putting the builds out and then probably like the gameplay showcasing it. And now into this build, why Nightmare 100 and not something else? Well, in my opinion, Nightmare 100 is a pretty good degree of difficulty-ish. I feel like a lot of people want to hit Nightmare 100. I feel like that's a big milestone for a lot of people. Maybe not. Maybe I might try in experimenting and seeing, what I can do at 160. But in my opinion, once you get past 100, it starts to get to the point with certain other characters. Like, in my opinion, I haven't played 3 of them yet, as you can tell by my screen, maybe. You might be seeing gameplay, but I might show you what I'm seeing. But it's gotten to the point where only certain like characters are viable, or you just have to have like insane like gear and whatnot. I think Nightmare 100 is a good baseline, so that's the reasoning behind that. Anyways, enough of the yap. Let's get right into the build. So here is my Gatling Nut Squirrel Girl. Yes, I named her Gatling Nut. Where I come from, 2K and or Borderlands, we give builds names, so that's what I did. I was able to, even from the gameplay from yesterday, I was able to over half my like Nightmare 100 clear time with just some testing of some different gear and whatnot. So now let's go to the skill tree. Let's do it one by one. Damage bonus, total damage bonus plus 50%. Now this it would be this over here, increases all damage dealt. That is your base damage. It is increasing. It's just adding whatever percentage that shows to your base damage. Then I want to, we went 1 into flat health just to get down the tree, and then we went 5 into total output boost. Again, why? This is a common trend you're going to be seeing. I'm mostly just 1 into everything except for like damage, like total damage or like total output. Why? Because total damage like basically just increases your base, and then total output then like multiplies that base again. So it's kind of hard to explain it, but just know these numbers being high equals really big damage numbers in general. That's a very super simplified way of putting it. But yeah, for the general tree, we're just going to be rocking that. Then let's move on to our first like set of skills here. We went 3 into 3 for bursting acorn. Basically splits your acorns or whatnot. I went 1 into squirrel swarm. I don't know, I put 1 in there. To be honest, if I took this one out, I don't know where I would put it. I kind of put 1 in there though. It spawns squirrels and it does like damage over time to enemies. It's like, I'm pretty sure it's pretty minor chip damage, but I'm like, hey, any source of damage is damage nonetheless. Then we go down here to jumbo acorn. Now this one's definitely one of your more important abilities, I would assume, or I would say. Jumbo acorn is going to imprison the enemies. It's literally going to stun them. If I'm not mistaken, this is quite literally the only like hard stun that enemies get, besides from like maybe Thor's ult. I would have to see the other character skill trees, haven't really dabbled in them too much, but this hard stuns them, and then it applies vulnerability, which is like, think of it as like a debuff. Obviously that's constantly debuffing them, and then you got the damage from this. It just all combines into just one big explosion. Then we're gonna go into rodent revelry. Wow, that was hard to pronounce. Why did I go 2 out of 3 in this? Great question. Once again, not really wanting to invest too much into this, because truth be told, 2 out of 3 versus 3 out of 3 isn't really much of anything. This is really just more so, improving the duration of the imprisonment, as well as, applying those squirrel friend stacks, because the more stacks we can apply, the more continuous damage we have happening at the same time. Really just chip damage. Now, I will say for this blue tree, I do think you could definitely take a decent amount of this stuff out of the blue tree if you wanted to. One of my friends has I think maybe like 1 to 0 points into blue tree, and they're doing just fine. But anyways, moving down the tree here, put 1 into here, grab the tail bounce. These don't cost anything. I don't see why you wouldn't grab them unless they hurt whatever you're going for. That hasn't been the case with me so far. We're gonna grab all the critical damage we can, put 1 point into there just to move down the tree. We're gonna grab primary attack speed. Cooldown reduction isn't necessary, and I'll tell you why here in a second. We're gonna get the rapid fired acorn. This allows you to basically stay in, I am talking about the wrong ability. This is not that. This is the Gatling in the Gatling Nut build. I saw Mammal Bond and I completely went off on a complete tirade of something completely wrong. This is going to improve your attack speed and give you charges. Now, by charges, I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not claiming to know everything. I do believe charges means how much ammo, like max ammo capacity. And then you're going to get, in my case, 500% more attack speed. Now, I do think this is definitely one of the better abilities right here. This is going to not allow your squirrel friends that you're applying with the first 2 traits. This is going to allow you to apply slow and vulnerability to whoever they're attached to. So more vulnerability equals more damage that you're being able to do to them. Now, don't get it twisted. This damage does not show up in the scoreboard as far as I'm concerned. You'll feel it, but it won't be like, oh, you've done 30% more damage now when you get to the end. Once again, 1 point to move down the tree. Now, this is probably one of my personal favorite skills. I take this 100% of the time because this makes it to where you can use squirrel blockade or tail bounce without immediately ending Mammal Bond, because the way Mammal Bond works for like base Squirrel Girl in the normal game, she uses an ability twice, it's gone basically. This allows you to basically spam it, and then that is going to allow you to spam your blockade, apply vulnerability, and then burst them down with the acorns. Now, this would be a trait, and I have picked up this trait. I would love if this trait worked. It does not. As far as I know, offense defense does not work. What this is supposed to do is allow your blockade to hit unstoppable enemies. But I took it off because I did realize it was not stunning them like I had originally thought it would. That's what it reads as. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like I said, I'm not claiming to be the expert. We picked up a little bit of critical rate here. I personally prefer, as you may see from my skill damage breakdown on the left-hand side of your screen here, I prefer my criticals over my precisions. Why? Literally simply due to the fact that criticals happen more often. I'm not gonna lie. Precisions can result in big numbers, and I did test out with some stuff with precision stuff. It's just, I don't think it's reliable enough, but maybe I just need better gear that's centered around precision. I don't know, but I personally prefer criticals because they just happen so much more often. So you're having that big increase in damage basically all the time. 1 point into this, you know, another upgrade. Like I said, they don't cost anything. Why not take it unless it hurts you? Now this is an ability and that I have 1 out of 3, and it may seem very weird to have 1 out of 3 in it. Why? Because my original piece of gear that I was using, that I was going to keep using, and it's still a great piece of gear by the way, increases this to like 50 seconds or so. This can go really high depending on what your gear is. However, my piece of gear that I have doesn't have points into this. However, I don't think it's that bad because it's up so often. Why is it up so often? We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I like Rhythm of Nature. It's good for up time. It just depends on whether or not you want to invest in that. I just kept that point there. I haven't changed it. Like I said, we're going to take all the output boosts. Now you might be wondering, why did I go 5 out of 5 here? Well, output boost has this thing called diminishing returns. Basically, I can show it to you. So if you pay attention here, if I put a point into this, it's 15%. I should be at 956. I put a point into there, I'm at 955. I put another point into there, I'm at 968. I got plus 14, then plus 13. That's what diminishing returns is. Basically, you're getting it's quite literally, you're getting less return on your investment. This last point, you could take a point off somewhere else and put it in there, and I really don't think it would change anything too much. And honestly, just like me taking a point out of it, I'm not sure how much that's changed. However, it's just, to me, something about it is the fact that it's not worth the same anymore. That's just me. Percentage max health, we're gonna take that one just to move down the tree, and then we're gonna grab the primary weapon damage bonus. Now, I've seen a couple people grab the ability extra damage boost. The only thing is, with this, you don't really do damage with your abilities like that much, unless this means like these abilities that you're picking up on the right side are getting boosted. I don't think there's ever a situation where you want to pick this up if your main goal is to do damage. I don't see there's ever a situation. Now, moving on to Acorn Rain. I'm not gonna lie, I took that extra point from that amp, the total output, put it into Acorn Rain. Why not? I'm not exactly sure how much this rain hurts the enemies, but it is an AoE attack that does add more damage. Like I said, why not? It doesn't hurt. I also put 1 point into Friends of Nature. When we have Mammal Bond activated, we're going to be giving those applying squirrel friend stacks. Oh my goodness, what is happening to me? We're gonna be applying squirrel friend stacks to enemies in an area, a radius around us, and you can actually literally see that radius. And of course, that means squirrel friend stacks means more tick damage and more vulnerability and slow being applied to everyone in an area around you. So it's just a whole big deal about that. Why not? Now, this ability is probably second most important, next to the actual maybe attack speed, perhaps, or the vulnerability. You can gauge that how you want, but every 20,000 damage dealt reduces Mammal Bond cooldown by half a second to a minimum of 3 seconds. This is how you upkeep your Mammal Bond. Your Mammal Bond is your damage. Without this, the build might as well just not be there. 20,000 damage is not a lot. 20,000 stops becoming a lot way early on before Nightmare 100. So every 20,000, your Mammal Bond is basically always at a 3-second cooldown, and this is going to help you upkeep your damage, your fire rate, all of that. So that's why this ability is super duper reported. Now this, the buddy boost, the one right next to it, every 50,000 damage dealt by squirrel friends reduces squirrel blockade. We don't necessarily care about this. Why? Because Mammal Bond is already resetting those cooldowns all the time, and we don't even have squirrel missile. So truth be told, we're not going to even care about that. I took an extra point of precision rate because honestly, why not? There's a few points in here where it's like, oh, I don't know how I necessarily want to spread this out. I did take 4 out of 5 points into precision damage. One again to get down the tree. 4 out of 5 into more precision damage. Why? Because without these 4 out of 5 points, our precision damage does get pretty low, and I don't want it to be where like, oh, you hit a precision shot or whatever and you're actually doing less damage. And yes, it is still less damage than our crit damage for sure, but I don't want it to be so much less where it's like, well, I'd rather not hit a precision at all. This is more so just to upkeep consistent damage. Why nuke your precision damage just to get your crit up when you can just kind of have both? More percentage max health. If you're ever struggling, by the way, with staying alive, perhaps, percentage max health is the way to go, not the flat health. The percentage max health usually benefits you more per point than flat health. 1 into this just to move down the tree, 1 into this just to move down the tree again. I went ahead and picked up the ability specialization for the ult. Why not? And I put our last point, and for lack of a better term, I'm gonna call this a capstone. I put our last point into the critical damage capstone because we have almost a 50% crit rate. So why not multiply our crit damage by 150%? That way you can get the most damage out of it. With a 50% crit rate, with how fast we're firing, is basically every other shot. So I mean, it's happening quite often, and that's a lot of damage being just multiplied. A thing that I want to put out is on this entire right side of the tree, you may see once we got Cycle of Nature, we did not invest any points into the rest of the tree. Truth be told, these last 3 abilities, at least for, you know, the acorns build, kind of suck. I don't think I would get them in any scenario, actually. Basically, they're based around tail bouncing, and you know, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. So basically, that's gonna do it for the tree. I'm not sure how long that breakdown was. It was like 20 minutes. I might cut a lot of that out. But now we're gonna move on to the gear. Now, with the gear, I have some pretty good stuff here, but that's because obviously once you play enough, you're gonna eventually get better and better gear. Now, this is, to be honest, pretty much a god roll. I'm not gonna lie, but you want the Ashwood slingshot. The main things you want to focus on, like the top 3 priorities: total damage, total output, maybe crit rate, or the rapid fire enhancement. That last slot can be either of those 2. The Acorn Rain enhancement, honestly, couldn't care about that. If it was there or wasn't there, I'm fine. The reason why critical rate's not there, our crit rate's already high as is, because it's being supplanted by something else. Let's move on to our armor. Honestly, just pick the best armor you have. Me personally, I prefer armors with the percentage health. Why? Because that's how I'm able to get my health up to 8,600. Now, I do have another piece of armor that could actually get it up higher than 8,000. I've gone up to as high as 10 to 11,000. It just depends. Now, the reason I like this so much is because I get the healing rune cooldown. That is your heal button. That cooldown's nice, and I get health upon defending an enemy. 8,000 is pretty good, unless you happen to be fighting Kingpin. Then 8,000 isn't enough, but hopefully you're able to kill them fast enough. That's more of a situation thing, I guess. For our amulet, we're gonna do the alchemy amulet. I guess it's just the same for everything, so it doesn't matter. Once again, the main effects that you want to go after: output boost. I'm not sure if it can roll with total damage. I also would highly recommend getting crit damage as well. And the reason being is because this is basically multiplying my crit damage by a lot. This is really hard carrying my crit damage. My crit damage is already pretty high with all the stuff from the skill tree, but the accessory, this accessory right here, really boosted up to that next level. And as you can see, that bursting acorn enhancement is also extremely nice to have. It's the combination of this enhancement plus the rapid fire enhancement that really makes this build super dangerous. Now, you can have any combination of these. And for this last one, honestly, like I said with the previous, crit damage, output boost, all very important. This one just also happens to have rapid fire and like a vulnerability thing. As you can see, the traits aren't even really quote unquote that good. They're like DC-ish ratings. You know, critical damage and output boosts are definitely like probably always the main things, and then the enhancements come afterwards. Now, I do want to say for my weapon, this was my fastest clearing weapon. Now, I have used a different weapon in the past, not that one. This weapon right here. The weapon on the right had a faster clear time than the weapon on the left. It was the only thing I changed in Nightmare 100. Now, there's a bunch of different things that change. Map, bosses, even the type of, is it defend or are you supposed to eliminate a certain amount of enemies? There's a lot of things that can change your clear time. However, I found that this slingshot on the right hand side had a better clear time, and I think it's because of the fact that, hey, the damage and output boost aren't nearly as lowered as the game wants you to seem it is. You know, it's not that big of a deal, but you're also getting more of that rapid fire boost, which is attack speed, which is basically a multiplier to your DPS, because the faster you can shoot, the more damage you can do in a second. But I will say the one on the left is only like minimally slower in clear time. Minimally. You don't need God roll stuff. You do not need God roll gear for any of this, but you do want to target specific attributes like total damage, output, and definitely probably crit, and try to get the right enhancements. Now, doesn't matter how high those numbers go. Eventually, yes, because eventually if you want to go any higher, you're gonna have to probably get some of the more better stuff. If you're trying to get up to Nightmare 100 or even do Nightmare 100, you do not need gear like this. This right here was what I was rocking in the video yesterday. It has basically none of the things I was talking about. Now, is the clear time a lot slower? To be honest, yes. These other two weapons cleared in half of that time, and that was the only difference in the build. But this is what I originally beat it with. So obviously you can beat Nightmare 100 pretty comfortably on Squirrel Girl, at least, without quote unquote perfect gear. That's gonna wrap it up for today's video. I definitely spent a bit longer talking about this than I had originally wanted to. I was thinking about working on a unique build for Squirrel Girl that I haven't seen. If you want to, like, you know, look for inspiration for a build that you want to make, by the way, I would recommend, you know, just going through the leaderboard. Maybe not 4 stack, specifically 1 stack, because 1 stack, you're by yourself, you're trying to do damage. Some of the Squirrel Girls in the 4 stack, 2 stack, 3 stack, whatever, they're really more there for applying vulnerability and being more of a support than like a DPS. That's why there's a lot of Moon Knights in those leaderboards. I would also say the main aspects of this build that you want to summarize everything up with: total damage bonus, total output boost, critical damage, and then your enhancements. Biggest 4 things, not necessarily in that order, but those are the 4 things that can take this build from okay to really OP. Anyways, I spent way too long talking about this. I'm gonna go work on this Punisher that I've been trying to work on. As you can see, he's also level 60. Anyways, long video, long-winded. Might cut a lot of this out, but yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.